Everyone, welcome to the Franchise Show. I hope you're all well. So it's 5:15, and that means we're going to have a conversation about franchising. And this week, we're going to talk about the topic of franchise mindset, which I think is a really interesting conversation and one that really has to be discussed and spoken about. It's something that interests me a lot, and I think that as a franchisee or a franchisor, you have to have a certain mindset in order to be successful. So I think it's a really interesting topic to discuss, and I can't wait to get into the conversation and to hear what is discussed and what's said about it. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mara to you. A lot of you may know Mara. She is in the top 100 franchise influencers. So there's quite an accolade there. And it's an absolute pleasure to have Mara on the show, and really looking forward to getting into the subject of franchise mindset. So the chat is open if anyone is here live. The event is always recorded, so it can always be watched on the replay. Always interested in people's opinion, and we can always deal with some comments as they come in afterwards. So I'd just like to hand over now to Mara and to hear your sort of opening thoughts on franchise mindset and kind of where you've got to be at this point to have this discussion.
Well, first of all, good evening, everybody. I'm talking from Italy, so over here it's 6:17 p.m. What to say? First of all, thanks a lot, Harvey, for your time and your passion and for your interest in this subject, which is basically not a daily subject that you find when we are talking about franchising. Just 1 second, I need you to introduce you to my cat, because actually he's not basically leaving me the desktop alone.
So, I think that's brilliant. Normally I'm at home, and normally we've had our cats introduced to each other because they look very similar.
Absolutely.
And they both like to get involved. So
okay. I think, are you done? Okay. Great. Fantastic. So this is what live
Absolutely
show is.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
No. Just a quick word about myself, because Harvey told me that I needed to introduce myself, which is basically one thing that I hate to do. But my background, I am an organizational psychologist. I took my master's degree in artificial intelligence. So basically, I've learned how people and machine think. More than 20 years ago.
We all want to know at the moment is about how people and machines think together. It's a very relevant question, actually.
It is, but it's not the subject.
It's another week for that one.
Another one. I came across the franchising world about 15 years ago. I basically fell in love with the system, and what else? I keep learning every day. New stuff, new ideas, new way of handling things. In the last 10 years, I became one of the two CEO of our company, which is an Italian-based company that has more than 30 years of background and history in the franchise market. So basically, I've learned everything that I know being on the shoulder of giants before me. So, okay. I guess we can close the, as I say, the introducing of myself. But what I would like to do is to have Harvey with me and to have you all with me, just to start with something that has nothing to do with franchising, but that basically helps you to understand what a different perspective can help you do. Okay, Harvey, are you with me?
I am.
Okay.
Intrigued.
Okay, for counting, we use the decimal system. Is that right? Okay. What is the decimal system? It's a positional numbering system base 10. Okay, Harvey, can you count with me? Count the sequence of number. Starting from
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay.
okay.
I can count.
That's great. Actually, what we do in a decimal system, what we are really doing is we start from 0. So the numbers are really 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we start again with another numerals, which is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, and so on and so forth. So think about it. When we have the first patient, how do we call it? Patient 0. I know it sounds intriguing. I know it sounds particular, but it's patient 0. So every time when we are using the number 10, think it is the 10th numeral, actually is the 11th.
This is where you're going to tell me that I'm 1 year older than I thought I was.
Well, basically, yeah, that's the way it works. But this is just to give you an idea of what a small shift of way to see things can give you a completely different way of the whole picture. So keeping this in mind, I want you to read, because I need to read it because it's not wrong, but it's kind of complicated. What happened in the US regarding a non-competition agreement between franchisor and franchisee. So basically, this franchisee entered into the franchise agreement with the franchisor in November 2021. Remember the date, November 2021. This was to reoperate a retail store and food truck using basically the brand of the franchisor and proprietary information. The fun part is both sides argued that the other did not perform their respective obligation under the franchise agreement, which resulted in the franchisor terminating the franchise agreement. Okay, November 2021, and this information is from August 2023. So which is basically, what, not even a couple of years? So after the termination, what happened? The franchisee opened a cookie dough business named, and I love it, Unbakeable. I love it.
Okay.
In the same location as its former franchise. Naturally, with a rebranded food truck, new logo, and updated social media. The franchisor claimed that the new Unbakeable logo was confusing, using the same fonts and logo, and that the former franchisee was continuing to use trade secrets, including recipes. Now, the franchisor also alleged the former franchisee breached its not compete covenant in the franchise agreement, which prevented the franchisee from competing for 2 years within 30 miles radius from the franchise location after termination of the franchise agreement. So the franchisor filed a motion for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction against the former franchisee. What do you think it happens in court?
Go on. Enlighten me.
The court denied the franchisor's motion. Okay. Despite the reason why, they say, the court denied this motion, think about it. It was only 2 years, and you were already arguing that you were not following your franchise agreement, both parties. So think about it. What happened there? I have to say that the American laws are different. So in this case, I don't know if you know that you need to file the FTD in the single states that you want to propose a franchise. So basically, the court was said, you did not file in Minnesota for the franchise agreement. So what do you want from us?
Very interesting. Very interesting. I think what I found very interesting about what you were saying is about a shift in perspective as well, what you said at the beginning with that decimal system. And I think that a shift in perspective is something really interesting to take from that. And I think that if somebody shifts their perspective just slightly, it can change the way they think about a business or the way they think about a franchise. I think just quickly before we continue our fascinating conversation, I just want to recognize a few people who have very kindly joined us live today. So we got Simon here. Simon's a lovely chap, and he's an expert recruiter on all things franchising, and he's been on the show before as well. So it's great to see you, Simon. I hope you're really well. Interested to hear your thoughts on the mindset of either a franchisee or a franchisor. Just have a look at, we've got a few other people here as well. So we got Kelly. Now, Kelly is a wonderful friend of mine. I've been on LinkedIn Lives with her before on Don Cohen's show. She's over there in America, talking of America. So it's great to see Kelly. Thanks so much for joining us. Kelly said something. Oh, there you go. So now the reason that she said Pebbles Jr. there is because your cat, Mara, looks just like my cat, who is called Pebbles. Yes. And what's your cat called, by the way, Mara?
Chico, Cico.
Yeah. Chico. We'll have to introduce the two of them. So who else have we got here? We've got a LinkedIn user, unfortunately hasn't come up with a name, but great to see you and good morning. That suggests to me that it's America because they're. Yep. We got Melissa. Oh, it's great to see you, Melissa. Hello and good morning to you as well. Just a quick look. I like to recognize everyone who's here. We got Danny. I love Danny. He's a good chap. He's from the UK as well. Popping my franchise cherry. Not much to contribute, but interesting listening. Well, look, it's fantastic to have you here, Danny. And everything that I've seen you contribute in the past has always been of great value. And I think the thing is, you don't need to necessarily be an expert in franchising to have an opinion on what mindset and perspective mean. In business, in your life as well, because I think it has great relevance in all those worlds, just as it does in franchising. So, Danny, I'm really looking forward to hearing anything that you've got to say on the subject. And then we've got the legend that is Don Cohen. Don, without Don, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Don has done a LinkedIn Live almost every day for well over a year. A huge expert on LinkedIn Live, a great business person and a wonderful friend. And it's lovely to have him here in the comments. Really looking forward to any contributions and value that Don brings as well. So I think we're pretty much up to date there on the comments. And again, I thought it was brilliant what you were saying about perspective. Mara, what would you say the ideal mindset of a franchisee is? It's a big question, but do you think it can be summarized?
Well, I'll try to. Okay, a franchisee mindset should be equal to an investor mindset.
Okay.
Question for you. When you're thinking about an investment, what is the first thing that you're looking for?
Well, I think it's a very good question. And you know what? It's a question that should always be asked. Often it's a return on an investment. And that's a really interesting question as well as to what is a return on your investment. It's not always just money. It's a return on the time, the commitment, the emotional input that you put into whatever project you're in. So I think when you're investing something, you're investing more than money. But I think you're right. I think that mindset has got to be like an investor. You're investing your time for a return. I often say to people, what's your dream? What are you, when you picture this, what are you picturing? Explain that to me, because what somebody wants, the investment, that the return can be the realization of that dream. So it has to be aligned, I think. But yeah, I think you start to make a really interesting point. So I think that would be my answer to that one.
Okay. And I would say here we are started at number 1.
Okay.
I want you to go a step backwards and think about the 0. When you're investing in something, the first thing that you're looking for is reliability. Think about it, not only when we're talking about Wall Street, you're looking at the ROI afterwards. You're looking at the reliability before that, even if you're not doing it in a conscious way. So, as a franchisee, the first information that they need to gain is the franchisor reliable as a company, as a staff, as a business. Okay, so basically, is it a wow effect or is something that can have a future? Because afterwards, you think about how you have your ROI. It doesn't matter if it's economic ROI or emotional ROI or even time ROI. Hello, Melissa.
Yeah, I think you're
I have I
absolutely
have the
right.
previous. I have the previous. I love that.
I think you're very wise in saying that reliability. I think it's a trust journey,
It is.
and it's a trust journey on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a gradual giving of trust from both sides, and you've got to give and earn that trust, and it's a journey that happens, I think, and maybe the mindset alters
Ah,
and shifts a little.
I have another preview from Joe. Hi, Joe.
Oh, well, I'm so glad we're putting that up straight away.
Yeah.
Joe is an absolute legend in the world of franchising,
Yes.
and completely honored that you're here, Joe. Fantastic to see you, and really, really interested to hear your thoughts on franchise mindset. Joe and Mike do a wonderful show, and if you're listening, you've got to check that out. Really, really, really good,
Yeah.
and lovely to see you here, Joe. So yes, sorry, I think, yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts on that trust journey? Would you say that comes in, and where would you put that on your number scale system?
Well, actually, that's a tricky one because, as I stated before, we are still talking about number 1, not number 0. Because you build trust when your expectations are fulfilled. So your 0 is expectation because franchising is based on expectations. I, as a franchisor, expect you, franchisee, to do certain things, to act in a certain way. And I, franchisee, have the expectation from you, franchisor, to help me in what I'm doing. So only if the two expectations are met, you can build trust.
It's very
And
interesting.
from that, you're right, it's a journey. So it's not just a one shot. You have to build it day by day by day by day. It's like how do I get to the Carnegie Hall? Just practice, practice, practice.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, whatever you do, it needs and takes practice, and I think it needs to be a flexible approach as well.
Mhm.
I think you need to be able to a degree, adapt your expectations, or make sure, like you said, they've got to be aligned, and to have aligned expectations, you need to ask the question as to what the expectations of the other party is, whoever that is, to make sure they're aligned. Just briefly, just want to get to a couple of comments because we've got a couple of good comments coming in here. So I just want to read through these and we can react to them. This is from Simon. For the franchisee, they must understand what the mindset of their franchisor is before they invest. For me, the mindset of a franchisee or has to be focused on making the franchisee successful. It's the primary reason they exist.
And
I couldn't agree with you more, Simon. You're absolutely right there. That the success of a franchisee is the success of the franchisor. That without the success of the franchisee, there is nothing there's no success to be had for the franchisor. It's a complete partnership, an absolute partnership, and it takes a combination. What's your thoughts there on Simon's comment?
Well, I would say Simon just hit it right in the spot. Because without a franchisee, you're not even a franchisor.
Yes, very true. Very true. Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. Just move on, because again, we've got another fantastic comment from the legend that is Joe. Mara Harvey, how does the mindset differ amongst single and multi-unit and enterprise large franchisees? That's a fantastic question.
Okay, Joe, you're gonna pay this one. You know that.
What's your thoughts there on the difference between those things?
Okay, basically, it's not a different of approach, but there are differences in handling the business. When we're talking about single unit, basically, we are talking about self-employment. So, and regarding this point, I would like to state that it's not to become your own boss. It's to become responsible of your own business. Number one. Multi-unit, you're doing the same, but you are in charge of more people, more expectation, and you need to find the not really the perfect match, but the right match between how you now I know you do between the single unit, between what are your budget goals, whatever, and the franchisor needs. Enterprise large franchisees, come on, they are enterprises. They are basically business that have understood that the best way to improve whatever is to use a tested system that somebody else has put up and to take the best of it without imagining, without trying to change anything.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Joe?
Well, I think it absolutely does. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and I really agree with you. And it's such an interesting question, and I'm going to keep it on the screen there, because I think that mindset of not being your own boss but being responsible. You're getting a tested system, whatever franchise that you choose. You're getting a system that has been tested, and you're getting something that instantly can provide what it is that you need. And I think it does differ. I think if you've got the mindset of wanting to grow to a multi-site operation, then when you're starting that first one, you're really not looking at working within that business. There are some single site franchisees that really do want to work within that business themselves, even as the franchisee. I think if you're starting with the premise of multi-units, then you're wanting to kind of have a mini world in there that you can scale yourself as well. So you're going to be putting in teams in place, and you'll have this different mindset. Whereas, sometimes when you're wanting to be a franchisee, you're really wanting to be immersed in whatever that franchise is, depending on your background. And I think that's why it's perhaps so important to what you said before, Mara, and I wanted to go back to that, about being aligned in your expectations. And I think being aligned in your expectations is where this question is answered. When you're asking good questions about what your plans are, it goes back to communication, I think, as well. To have great communication, as things go along. So I'm just going to get to a few more comments because I don't want to miss any of these out. So we've got a new name here. Thanks very much for joining us, and I'm glad that you're finding it informative. So Kelly here has put track record and strength of the brand. Yeah, I think when we're talking about number zero, and before we've got even to number one, people are looking at that. They're judging the brand. What does that brand mean to them? And asking all of these questions. So I think that those things are key when people are looking at those things early stages. Joe's come back with, I owe you now, Mara. I sense some history.
There is a question from Simon. Then we will answer to Joe. But I'd love to put on screen the question or there it is.
I'll let you read that one out then.
Okay, there is a strong argument to suggest that the mindset of the unit franchisee is income replacing, could be, and the mindset of the multi-unit owner is enterprise growth, value, and return on investments. Well, in this case, I would think about it in a different way. I mean, you're right. There is a different approach on how you develop the business if it's a single unit and you have the idea to stay as a single unit, as you say, as a plan B, or even after, I don't know, classic example, two companies just merged and there are the same role and we have two different person. Okay, who are we going to fire? And the fired one will need a plan B, which is basically a replacement of what the income was. But after that, if the mindset, the franchise mindset grows with the business, because the mindset will develop in time, basically, if the business works, you can become a multi-unit owner. You can also become a multi-brand owner, which is a little bit different because a multi-unit owner has more units of the same brand. A multi-brand may have single unit of different brands.
Or multi-units of different brands as well. I think that's really interesting, and again, what a great statement here, Simon. And I think something you said there, Mara, mindset growth.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really, really valid and interesting comment to make, because mindset does change and mindset does grow. And again, this is coming back to communication. Because if you get somebody out who starts off with the mindset of income replacement, but as time moves on, they move over to that mindset of enterprise growth, value, and return on investment. I think that is a really, really valid statement, and I think something that is true very much in the franchising world. I just want to move on just quickly now to a comment there that Joe's made. Do you recommend franchisees change their mindset from simply growing to scaling within one brand or even multiple brands?
Can I answer that?
You certainly can. I'd love you to.
Joe, pay me.
I don't know about that.
No, basically is when we are talking about this kind of situation, we are talking about challenges. So what we as franchisee need to do is to take those challenges and to go over and beyond our fears. Because we have some restraint. We do have, especially in business, especially when you have to get out of your comfort zone. And the comfort zone is, I have a single unit, it works perfectly, I pay in pizza. So trying to leave your comfort zone, first of all, is something you cannot do alone. This is one thing that I want to be clear. Franchising, but business, personal growth is not based only on your shoulder. You need to have people that help you in this. I mean, we are not Superman, we are not Wonder Woman. And to have somebody else outside of ourselves that is kind of a mirror of what we do and what we are and our potential is the first key to improve yourself. It doesn't matter if it's franchise mindset, if it's pure mindset, even if it's starting from hating cats to loving cats. It's
Yeah.
something that you cannot do alone.
I think that that is really valid, and I think you're absolutely right. Again, goes back to partnership. It's a partnership when a franchisee and a franchisor are aligned and get together. And I think this is a really interesting question, because how do you recommend franchisees change their mindset? And I think it's partly something that will naturally occur as they build and grow themselves. And I think it's also something that it needs, like you say, it needs that support. You can tempt people into again, talking about what their dream might be, or what they are looking for the future, because people's idea of what they want in 5 years' time changes all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and their situation changes. So they may well financially or time commitment either have some time freed up or some finances freed up, or it may go the other way. And as they get more experienced, growing becomes an easier task. Someone said the other day to think of people as an investment, not a cost. And it aligns here a little bit, because if you hire a person and they cost you a certain amount and you're thinking about the cost, but every day that person gets better at their job, they get better in themselves, they grow in confidence, they grow in their abilities, and that investment starts to give returns and actually escalates in value. And I think it's the same for that franchisee, franchisor investment. You're getting somebody there that's really partnering with you, supporting your brand, promoting your brand, and you're in the same way supporting the growth of their business. So I think you're absolutely right, Maura. I think the answer to the question is that the key is in support and communication, really listening with intent, asking good questions and making sure that you're up to date as to what is under someone's hat. And making sure that you know what their dreams and what their thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to go to another comment here, because we've got some great comments here. This is Tony, and great to see you, Tony. Thanks for stopping by and for your valuable input. 50% of any business success depends on selecting the right partner, and the same applies on the franchisor and franchisee business relationship. I couldn't agree with you more there, Tony. It's not just about a franchisee looking to select the right franchisor. It's about the franchisor thinking, who's the right partner for us? And again, that requires good communication. It requires good support, and it requires, the trust journey to continue. And to get off that zero and into the higher numbers. Incidentally, Mara, what are the other numbers? What do they represent to you in that franchise journey? Where does it go from and to if it starts at zero? I'm interested.
Okay, let's say, and I love to use the words from Simon Sinek, if you don't understand people, you don't understand business.
Mm. Mm.
So remember, business is done by people. Business is business. It was here before. It's gonna be here now. It's gonna be here in the future. People do have a time. So timing is definitely important. As you were stating before, depending on the period of the life they are, they have different expectations, different needs. And as you say, they do change. While at the same time, franchising is not really about changes. Well, after the COVID, a lot of franchise needed to change. Not all of them did. Over here, some of them died. So think about this relationship as an open system, not as something that is definitely closed.
Mm. Mm.
Moving forwards, we were talking about in our previous conversation about KPIs. So key performance indicator, great, fantastic, I love them. But they are what I do call them the hard side of selecting and implementing the relationship between a franchisor and a franchisee. Let's say, is it more important to reach a specific budget or a specific goal? Or is it more important the way that you reach or you may not reach that specific budget or goal?
Mm.
Because, as I say, if we keep praising the, uh, he made more money than you did, so I'm gonna give them a reward. You are rewarding the final step, not the journey. But a franchise is a journey. Trust is a journey. Everything is a journey.
Yeah.
This is just in the general, but in the specific, uh, you can have soft KPIs to, especially for franchisors, which so many times it's hard to identify. But there are a few things that a franchisor would need to keep in mind when selecting, I don't like that term, but when choosing the partner. So we stated before we were talking about drivers. So why did you choose to get into a franchise? Is it a plan B? Or is it a challenge to start a new business? Is it the opportunity to gain more money? Or is it the need to work by yourself? Or maybe to work with your partner, with friends, whatever. Or you're looking for something that will put some kind of equilibrium in your life.
Mm. Mm.
I'm
Mm.
not.
I think that that's really interesting. The why is really really important to find out. You know, it feeds back into communication, but to find out why someone wants to do it, and also what I love about what you've just said there as well is when you think of KPIs or when you think of any goal or aim that you've got in franchising or in other walks of life, what you said there about the journey being as important as the destination, that really resonates with me. How you get there is really important. And it's really important in terms of how someone feels
Mhm.
as well. You know, you might meet a KPI by going through one of the worst periods of your life and it being really, really tough and really, really difficult and not a lot of fun and not very rewarding. But you met the KPI. The KPI is the same. But if you get there with fantastic communication, with fantastic support, and it's a great, fun, and rewarding journey, then it's so much more valuable. That destination is not the key; the journey is the key. I love what you said there. I think it was so relevant on the mindset of a franchisee. I was just going to put up a comment from Joe. To me, the show is there we go. To me, is the show is driven. Well, even that, the show is driven by comments, and that's what I love about a LinkedIn Live. Well, there you go. You see, look at that. Yes. So you've got to send a pizza all the way across the
Yeah.
Atlantic. That would be one hell of a skimming, like skimming stones. You could skim a pizza all the way across the Atlantic. And actually, it would hit the UK first. So yeah, I might get one.
I want to take back your words and I wanted to use another example. Maybe it's a little bit too drastic, but it gives you the idea of what are the hidden failures of reward a KPI. Think about the movie The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Fantastic KPIs. How did they get there? What did they do to get there? They basically stumbled on everything, everybody, everyone. So that's why I say, in my opinion, it is important to praise the journey. The other thing is, we do have drivers, but we also have restraint. So basically, what are the major restraints that a franchisee could? They cheated. Yes, Joe, they cheated. I know that. Okay, think about the restraint. So, for example, if I have to start a whole new business, may I fail? Yes, I can. Or maybe I cannot. I lack of experience. I maybe become anxious to work on myself about my to work alone. Or maybe, and this is something that came up definitely after COVID, how the future of the market will go. So these restraints, these fears, because basically they are fears, as you said, they can be put down to rest through communication. The other thing is, okay, but how many people do have the courage to ask questions? Because too many times I had the feeling during the development of the single franchise, people are afraid to look, excuse me, the term stupid for making simple questions. But why? What is the problem? It's a simple question. You will need to evaluate the franchisor based on the answer. So
Yeah.
communication is not only one way. It's
Mhm.
it's both ways. If you do not have the information that you want, that you seek, whatever, ask them. Do not be afraid to do it. Nobody's going to judge you for that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And there's a fair few things that you've said there that again really resonate with me. I think you used the word praise the journey. And I think that's really relevant because it doesn't matter whether it's an employee or a franchisor or franchisee journey. You both want to know that you're doing well on the journey together, right? And that can be a simple matter of saying, of thanking someone for what they've done, or appreciating what they've done, or listening with intent. That's listening is a praise. It is praising someone, and I just like the expression praise the journey. I really like that. I think what was really interesting as well when you were talking about restraints, when you were talking about what fears someone has, and I think that's really relevant, and I think that that does happen. I think yes, people need the courage to ask those questions, but also I think it's the responsibility of the other party to make them feel comfortable to be able to ask any question, and that's about a sort of a people journey. That's about one person being comfortable with another. You know, people do business with people, as you've said before, and they need to be comfortable to do that. Just quickly, in case Joe goes, but Joe's just saying goodbye, and absolutely, we will certainly be there on the franchise chat on Friday. I've been there many times, and I'd like to name drop that and promote Joe and Mike's show. So we'll definitely be there. And thank you again, Joe, for supporting the show today. I hope you have a great day. So yeah, I think that it's about discovering what those restraints are, and it's also what those fears are, and it's also about discovering what those triggers are, what the positive parts of it. And all of these things come to communication. So I think it's about asking good questions, discovering what's in somebody's mind, discovering a mindset. It is about understanding the other party. And that can only be done with completely open communication right from the beginning. And you just will discover what these things are. But I think it's really interesting to categorize those into different things, what someone's fears are, what someone's ambitions are, what are the things that tick their boxes that make them successful, those KPIs, but what's going to be the best journey for them to take to reach those. And I think it's been really interesting. We're drawing to a conclusion. We normally sort of stop after about sort of 45 minutes or thereabouts, somewhere around 6 o'clock. Just before we do, I think this is a conversation that could carry on for another 3 or 4 episodes. So I'm sure we'll have you back, Mara, and to continue talking about it, because we've only got to number 1 as well. So what happens at number 10? It's exciting to find out. And just in sort of conclusion, how would you kind of, after what we've just discussed today, as a kind of a take home for the franchisee, franchisor mindset? For me, it's about asking those right questions and listening intently. But how would you sort of summarize the best way to start that journey of discovering mindset between the two?
Well, I would say for me, number 0 is both for franchisor and franchisee. Do your homework and start to know yourself. Yeah, that's really valid and really important, really interesting, because I think if you don't know what it is that you want, and you don't know how it is that you would like to get there, then you're not going to be able to communicate that. And therefore, you're not going to be aligned in your mindset. So, yeah, great finishing comments there. Really good value. Yes, go on. I would like to add one more thing.
Please do.
Do not prioritize money. Money, it's a result. Remember that.
I think that's very interesting as well.
For both parties.
Yeah,
Both
I think it's I think it's very valid. Because it seems important at the outset to get those numbers right. But those numbers are the KPIs, and everything else, all of the things we've talked about, the journey that could be a 5 or 10-year journey. All of those have soft elements in there that are harder to quantify, but are so important. And once all the numbers have been agreed, the only thing that's left is the relationship, the communication, and the journey. So they're absolutely the most important things. And it's always good to have a conversation with people to make sure that they're aligned and that they realize that too. Listen, it's been absolutely fabulous talking to you today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really hope that we can continue our conversation and do another topic on mindset, because it's a subject that I personally find fascinating. But we're concluding now, so I want to thank everybody for joining the conversation today. We'll be downloading this conversation onto various different platforms, and you'll be able to catch the replays, and there'll be all sorts of other content coming from it. But I'd personally like to say thank you to everyone who was here today, and thank you to you, Mara.
No, thank you to all the people that were listening, all the people that have even said hi, and that it was really great to have this small part of our personal journey shared with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Perfect. See you next week.
Bye.